It's May long weekend, finally getting outdoors to ride. This is week 24 of the vlog. Just got back from a ride on May long weekend. It hasn't been the warmest or the sunniest of May long weekends, but it was a great opportunity to get in 2 rides outside on my new bike, which is a Cervelo P4. So it's a little bit different from the Kijiji super bike that I showed you previously. Unfortunately, when I was taking apart that bike, one of the bolts broke off in the frame. It's the 3rd time that's happened, and this time the bolt was really stubborn and wouldn't come out. So ultimately, decision was to find a new bike. So after lots of hunting on Kijiji, I decided on this Cervelo P4. I went with the P4 for 2 reasons. The first reason is the fit. So P4 is known as a long and low bike. So when I measured the stack and reach of my Pinarello, I looked up the dimensions and I looked up other bikes to see what bikes would be possible for me to fit on, and I knew that I wanted to be able to get a little bit lower and longer than what that bike fit. So the the P4 was a good fit for that. And the second is that this bike has been proven in a wind tunnel, so it's not of the current generation of super bikes, but it still does stack up really well, especially at low yaw angles against the fastest bikes today. So I know that even though this is an older bike at about 8 years old, that it's still a fast bike. So it won't be holding me back in races. Since buying the bike off of Kijiji, I've kept it relatively stock. I switched the saddle to saddle I had been riding on my Pinarello, and I also took off the hydration system that was on here. But otherwise, I've basically kept everything the same, so I can get a feel for this bike and decide what pieces are going to stay and what pieces I'm going to change heading into the start of the triathlon season. So the bike has a mix of SRAM and rotor components. So it's got a rotor crankset. There's currently the oval Q rings on there. I haven't decided for sure yet if I'm going to keep them for the race. The rest of the drivetrain, the derailleur, the shifters, it's all SRAM red. The front brake is a tri-rig front brake and tri-rig stem. I still have to clean up the cockpit area a little bit. I just want to get the fit dialed in, because you can only cut you can cut a steer tube to make it shorter. You can't make it longer after it's been cut. So I want to make sure that I've got the fit dialed before I cut it. I took the power tap off of my old bike, and so I use the power tap now on this bike. And then finally, it has an integrated Aero water bottle, which I've cut off the nozzle and I've cut around it, so I keep my flat kit inside here. So it's a really Aero way to be able to keep your flat kit. 2 common complaints with this bike are that the seat post slips and that the brake is both difficult to use and relatively ineffective at braking. So if you have any tips or any experience with either one of those, definitely would be happy to hear from you.
Oh, this you crazy mother.